convenience that Mr. Trump inflated his total assets when it served his purposes, such as trying to be listed amongst the wealthiest people in Forbes, and deflated his assets to reduce his real estate taxes.
Thanks to former Trump fixer Michael Cohen's testimony in 2019, New York Attorney General Tish James started looking into Donald Trump's finances. And now she's planning to depose Trump, calling him in to answer questions under oath on January 7th. James is investigating whether Trump committed fraud by improperly inflating the value of his assets on annual financial statements in order to secure loans and obtain economic and tax benefits. They're looking into several properties where Trump reported different valuations to banks and tax authorities. Por ejemplo, the Trump Organization owns an office building at 40 Wall Street in Manhattan. In 2012, when the company was listing its assets for potential lenders, it said the building was worth $527 million, which would make it among the most valuable in New York. But just a few months later, the Trump Organization told property tax officials that the entire 70-story building was worth less than a high-end Manhattan condo, just $16.7 million. According to newly released city records, that was less than 1/30th of the amount it had claimed the year before. That property is now under scrutiny from the Manhattan District Attorney and New York Attorney General, along with several others like it, for which the Trump Organization gave vastly different value estimates. According to public records and people familiar with the investigations who spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss ongoing inquiries. As the Washington Post notes, appraisers have said it is highly unusual for a company to provide such widely different valuations of the same properties at the same time. Trump's lawyer responded today saying, quote, Mr. Trump is right when he says this is a witch hunt. We are not concerned about it because he has done nothing wrong. I'm joined now by Tim O'Brien, senior columnist at Bloomberg Opinion, and Tristan Snell, former Assistant Attorney General of New York and managing partner of Main Street Law. Mr. Snell, I'm going to point you to the tweet that you put up earlier today. You said if the New York AG wants to depose Trump, it's because they've already assembled their case. Trump's testimony would just be the icing. You don't go after the CEO until you've already gotten all the other evidence. This case is 90% built. Does that mean you believe that Donald Trump will be indicted? Oh, OK, we're having some issues with Mr. Snell's audio, so we're going to come back to him. I'm going to go to you, Tim O'Brien, to set aside whether or not we believe that there will actually be an indictment. A lot of people doubt Trump will ever face accountability. But if he shows up for this deposition, you've dealt with him in a deposition before. How do you expect him to behave?
Well, you know, Donald Trump's biggest problem, Joy, is that he is a flagrant and unhinged liar. And that is a lawyer's worst case scenario, to put someone under oath who isn't capable of actually telling the truth. You know, this is a very targeted deposition. When we deposed Donald Trump, we had lots and lots of issues to discuss with him over lots and lots of years. We looked at the valuation of all of his properties. We had his tax returns. We looked at his dealings with his insurers. We looked at what he got for speaking fees when he went out on the road. Tish James's office is focused, I think, primarily on 3 properties: 7 Springs in Westchester, 40 Wall Street, and his hotel in Chicago. And on this issue of whether or not he inflated the values when he wanted a loan and deflated the values when he wanted to lower his tax bill. I do think this signals that she's very near the end of her investigation. I do not think she'd seek to depose him unless they felt they were fully armored up with all of the evidence they needed to put on the table across from him. It's going to be interesting to see how he responds to documentary evidence that's contradicts what he or people in his organization have said in the past. That's what my lawyers did when we deposed him and we stripped the bark off of him like an old tree. You know, we caught him in, I think, more than 30 different lies during 2 days of depositions in late 2007. The other thing to remember, you know, is that her investigation is linked to Cy Vance's investigation. They have been collaborating throughout, and Vance's investigation, I think, is broader and has longer legs than Tish James. So I think you can see these as part of the same effort.
Yeah. And Mr. Snell, we've got you back. So if they are now trying to depose the CEO, depose Donald Trump, does that indicate to you that someone below him has given him up and given up documents and information?
I think yes, but really the documents are really the key thing for the civil case, because at the end of the day, the civil case does not need to show intent. So it's less about testimony and more about the documents. And the documents are plain as day. The thing you showed earlier, Joy, really just puts the nail, it hits the nail right on the head. That is a 3,300% disparity between what they reported to a lender and what they reported to the tax authorities. These numbers really speak for themselves. Donald Trump didn't need anybody to snitch on him. He snitched on himself with how broad of a disparity that was.
And please explain to us the difference in what would be, if Donald Trump were to lose this civil case and Letitia James were to win it, what would be the penalties for that versus a criminal case?
So the reason why everybody's been sleeping on this case and not really giving it that much attention is because people who want to see Donald Trump be brought to justice, they want to see him go to prison. This is a civil case. He's not going to go to prison. No one will for this matter. However, this could take an economic wrecking ball to the Trump organization. This could mean hundreds of millions of dollars in back taxes, penalties, other fees that he could have to pay to the state as well as to the lenders that he defrauded. So this could be ruinous for him financially.
And could he then face the criminal case if Cy Vance's case is connected?
Exactly. He's going to face it with a 1-2 punch. He's going to have the civil case and the criminal case going. We didn't realize until today how far along the civil case is. This is really far along. We wouldn't bring in somebody for this kind of testimony, like we were just saying, 90% plus if this case is already built. So this is really far along. He's going to get it. Trump's going to get it from both directions on this one.
And Tim, I've always sort of somewhat suspected that because of the sort of vagaries of the sort of daintiness of the Department of Justice and these OLC memos that say, oh, don't touch a former president, that Donald Trump is more likely to go down like Al Capone on his taxes, on the money stuff, and that's the stuff he's facing. He's facing a bunch of other civil lawsuits. He's facing a bunch of other criminal inquiries. But in the end, is it going to be his lies when it comes to his money that are going to be his biggest danger?
As long as they can tie him to those lies and tie him to what they are assessing are criminal acts, they are going to have to show intent in the criminal case. And Donald Trump is not a sophisticated man. He's an ignoramus in many ways, but he is a survivor, and he has this reptilian ability to evade the law by surrounding himself with other people he throws under the bus when push comes to shove. And undoubtedly, he will blame this on accountants. Undoubtedly, he'll blame this on other people in his own organization. So there's going to be a really high bar, I think, for Cy Vance's office to say they know he did it and he knew he was doing something wrong.
Yeah, he'll find a patsy, and he always seems to find some that are willing to do it. It's really strange. Tim O'Brien, thank you very much. Tristan Snell, thank you very much.